Hey there. Tonight we're traveling back, way back, to 230 BCE, the Adriatic Sea. You are standing on a wooden deck that creaks beneath your bare, calloused feet. Salt spray stings your face. The smell of tar, sweat, and blood fills your nostrils. You are not a merchant. You are not a fisherman. You are Dardos, a 16-year-old Illyrian pirate, and this ramshackle galley is the only home you've ever truly known. Before we begin, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. Are you tucked under warm blankets, lying in the dark with just the glow of your screen? Good, because tonight you're going to experience something they never taught you in school. The brutal, bizarre, and strangely mundane reality of being an Illyrian sea raider when Rome was still young and the Mediterranean belonged to anyone ruthless enough to claim it. So, dim the lights, get comfortable, and let yourself drift back 22 centuries to a life of violence, hunger, and strange honor among the forgotten pirates of the Illyrian coast. Let's begin. And stale fish. 30 men sleep packed like salted sardines on rough wooden planks. Your blanket is a threadbare wool cloak that once belonged to a Greek trader. He no longer needs it. You don't remember his face, just his screaming. That was 4 months ago, when Captain Pleuratos first let you join a boarding party. Your head throbs from last night's sour wine. The ship rocks gently in the sheltered cove, where you've anchored off the coast of what Romans call Illyricum, your homeland, though you've barely spent 10 nights on solid ground in the past year. Above deck, you hear the watch changing. Someone, probably Dacius. He's had that wet cough for weeks now. No one mentions it might be his last season raiding. You sit up slowly, careful not to wake Bardos sleeping next to you. He's only 14, newer to the crew than you, still skittish during fights. The low ceiling forces you to hunch as you navigate through the forest of hammocks and sleeping bodies. The air is thick and damp. In winter, men die down here from fever. In summer, the heat becomes unbearable, but at least fewer die. A rat scurries past your foot. You don't bother chasing it. The ship has dozens. They eat the weevils in the grain stores, so Captain Pleuratos allows them. Everything on this vessel serves a purpose, even you, especially you. You climb the narrow ladder toward the deck. Fresh air, freedom. Another day of waiting, watching, hunting. This is your life now. This is all you know. The morning air hits you like cold water. The sun hasn't broken the horizon yet, but the eastern sky bleeds pale orange. You breathe deeply, filling your lungs with clean wind instead of the rotten air below. The cove is calm. Steep cliffs rise on 3 sides, covered in scrubby pines and grey rock. This is one of Captain Pleuratos' favourite hiding spots. Invisible from the main shipping lanes, deep enough for the galley, with fresh water trickling down the rocks. Lysander, the first mate, stands at the stern. He's a Greek from Epidamnos, who joined the crew 5 years ago after his debts became unsurvivable. He nods at you, but says nothing. Lysander rarely speaks before the sun rises. You've learned this. You've learned everyone's patterns, moods, and triggers. Survival depends on reading the men around you. You walk to the water barrel lashed near the mast and drink from the wooden ladle. The water tastes of the clay jar it came from. You take 3 swallows, no more. Water is rationed until the next raid. Everything is rationed. Food, wine, mercy. The deck is 20 paces long, narrow enough that 4 men rowing on each side can propel the galley at surprising speed. The ship is a lembus, a light, fast raiding vessel designed by Illyrian shipwrights specifically for piracy. No merchant ship can outrun you. No warship can catch you in shallow waters or among the coastal islands. This vessel is a predator, and you are part of its teeth. Captain Pluratos emerges from his small cabin at the stern. He's 43, ancient by pirate standards, with a grey-streaked beard and a face like weathered leather. He carries a curved knife at his belt, always. You've never seen him without it, even when he sleeps. Captain Pluratos surveys the crew as men begin emerging from below. He doesn't shout. He never shouts. When the captain wants attention, he simply waits, and silence spreads like disease. Everyone fears disappointing him more than they fear Roman warships. Decius, the captain says quietly. The man with the wet cough straightens, trying not to wheeze. You stay with the ship today. Rest. It's not kindness. Decius is becoming a liability. If he can't recover, he'll be left at the next port. Pirate crews don't carry dead weight. You've seen it happen twice. Men who couldn't pull their weight simply disappeared during night watches. No one asks questions. We scout north today, Pluratos announces. Roman grain convoy passed Apollonia 3 days ago. Should be hugging the coast near Lissus by now. We watch, we count their guards, we plan. Your stomach tightens. A Roman convoy means Roman marines. Real soldiers, not merchant sailors who surrender after seeing drawn blades. You've never fought actual Romans. Stories say they fight in perfect formation, never break, never flee. They win by being machines, not men. But Roman grain ships also mean enough food to last your crew 6 months. Enough wine to trade for weapons. Enough valuables that every man gets a share big enough to matter. That's why you're here. Not for glory, for survival. For the tiny possibility that one day you'll raid something valuable enough to buy your way into a different life. Dardos, the captain says, and your heart stops. You and Bardos take the morning watch in the crow's nest, sharp eyes. If you spot sails, you signal immediately. Understand? You nod. Can't trust your voice. This is responsibility. This is the captain trusting you with the crew's safety, or testing whether you'll fail. The crow's nest is barely a nest, more like a small platform lashed to the top of the mast with rope that creaks ominously when the wind picks up. You climb first, hand over hand up the rough wood, splinters catching your palms. You've made this climb 50 times, but today your hands are sweating. Bardos follows below, breathing hard. From up here, the world transforms. The cove spreads beneath you like a secret kept by the cliffs. Beyond the narrow entrance, the Adriatic stretches endlessly, shifting between grey and blue as clouds move overhead. You can see why Illyrians own these waters. 1,000 hiding spots, 1,000 ambush points. The coastline is a maze of islands, inlets and channels that locals navigate by instinct and foreigners navigate to their deaths. Bardos pulls himself onto the platform beside you, making it rock dangerously. Sorry, he mutters. You say nothing. Words waste energy. Instead, you scan the northern horizon where the captain said to watch. Nothing yet. Just empty sea and distant islands. The morning sun climbs slowly, warming your back. Have you ever killed anyone? Bardos asks suddenly. His voice cracks slightly. You glance at him. His eyes are wide, genuinely curious and terrified. You remember being that afraid, though it feels like years ago instead of months. Helped hold a man down once, you say quietly, while Lysander cut his throat. He was a ship's guard who wounded Pleratos during a boarding. It took longer than you'd think. Bardos swallows hard, looking green. Good. He should be afraid. Fear keeps you alert. Overconfidence gets you killed. And this crew already has too many overconfident fools who think they're invincible after one successful raid. You return your attention to the horizon. This is your job now. Watch. Wait. Survive. An hour passes. Then another. The sun rises higher and the platform becomes uncomfortably warm. Your legs cramp from standing in one position, but you don't shift much. Bardos fidgets constantly, earning him a sharp look from you that makes him freeze. Below, the crew goes about morning tasks, checking ropes, sharpening weapons. 2 men bale water that seeped into the hull overnight. The galley always leaks slightly. It's normal. Lysander oversees everything with quiet efficiency. Captain Pleratos disappeared back into his cabin. Plotting, probably. He's always plotting. You think about your life before the ship. It feels distant and unreal now, like a story someone told you once. You were born in a fishing village south of Epidamnos. Your father drowned when you were 8. A sudden storm, his body never recovered. Your mother sold vegetables in the market. She remarried when you were 10 to a man who needed sons for his farm but didn't want another man's son eating his food. So at 12, you walked to the harbour and lied about your age to get work on a merchant vessel. That lasted 6 months before Illyrian pirates attacked. The crew fought poorly. You watched men die over amphorae of olive oil. Pleratos noticed you didn't cry or beg. You just stood there, silent, waiting to learn whether you'd live or die. "You're wasted as a merchant slave," he'd said. "Join my crew or swim back to shore." You joined. No hesitation. The merchant captain had beaten you twice for spilling wine. Pleratos has never struck you once, though you've seen him kill men for less than spilled wine. Strange how violence becomes normal, how you stop noticing the blood under your fingernails, how easily you sleep after watching someone die. "Sail!" Bardos shouts suddenly, pointing northeast. Your reverie shatters. You focus where he's pointing. There, a tiny white triangle against the horizon. You grab the signal flag, a strip of red cloth, and wave it in the pattern that means "sail sighted, northeast." Below, Lysander's head snaps up immediately. He gives a sharp whistle and crew members scramble. The lazy morning atmosphere evaporates like mist. Captain Pleratos emerges from his cabin, already wearing his sword belt. He never rushes, but he moves with purpose. "How many?" he calls up. You study the distant sail, still far enough that details are impossible. "One visible," you shout down. "Size unknown." "Could be a scout," Bardos whispers. "For the convoy." You nod. He's learning. Grain convoys don't travel alone. They send fast scout ships ahead to check for pirates. If we can see them, they can probably see us. But our galley is tucked in this cove. From that angle, they might miss us against the cliff shadows. "Stay sharp," Pleratos orders. "Watch for others." The next hour is tense. The sail grows slowly larger, confirming it's heading south along the coast. Not directly toward you, but close enough. You scan constantly for additional sails. Convoys usually have 3 to 5 ships. Where there's one, others follow. Your arms ache from gripping the platform. The sun is brutal now, reflecting off the water and boring into your skull. No shade up here, no relief. Bardos's face is flushed red, and he sways slightly. Heat sickness, maybe. But neither of you dares climb down while the captain ordered you to watch. Then you see it. A second sail, larger, appearing behind the first. Then a third. Your heart hammers. "3 sails!" you shout. "Large vessels!" Below, crew members grin. 3 ships mean rich cargo, mean opportunity, mean danger. Pleratos's voice cuts through the excited murmuring. Battle positions. We hunt tonight. You and Bardos finally climb down when Lysander sends up replacements. 2 older raiders with better eyes for detail. Your legs almost buckle when you hit the deck. Hours of standing have turned your muscles to stone. You stumble to the water barrel and drink greedily until someone shoves you aside. The crew is transforming. Men who seemed half asleep an hour ago now move with violent purpose. Weapons emerge from hidden storage: swords, spears, boarding hooks, and wickedly curved knives. You watch Lysander sharpen his blade on a whetstone, the methodical sound somehow more terrifying than any war cry. Captain Pleratos gathers the crew amidships. 28 men crowd the narrow deck. Dacius remains below, too sick to fight. The captain speaks quietly, forcing everyone to lean in and listen. 3 merchant vessels, probably grain from Egypt heading to Roman ports. They'll have guards, maybe 20 soldiers total, spread across 3 ships. We're outnumbered. Pirates prefer overwhelming odds, not fair fights. But, Pleratos continues, they're heavy and slow. We're fast. We attack at dusk, from the setting sun so they can't see us clearly. We target the rear ship first, board quickly, kill the guards, secure the crew. If we're fast enough, the other ships won't even know we've hit them until we're already taking the second vessel. It sounds simple when he explains it. It won't be simple. You've participated in 3 raids. 1 went perfectly, 1 went badly, 2 crew members died, and you barely escaped a Roman patrol. The 3rd was somewhere in between. There's no pattern, no guarantee, just chaos and luck and violence. Bardos, Pleratos says. You're with Lysander's boarding team. Stay behind the experienced men. Your job is to secure prisoners, not to fight unless necessary. Understand? You nod. Relief and disappointment mix strangely in your gut. The hours until dusk crawl by with agonizing slowness. You try to rest but can't. Your mind replays every mistake you've made during previous raids. That time you slipped on blood-slicked deck. The moment you froze when a merchant sailor swung an oar at your head. The nightmares afterward when you see their faces. Bardos sits beside you, obsessively checking the small knife the crew finally gave him last month. What if I can't do it? He whispers. Do what? Kill someone, if it comes to that. You consider lying, offering comfort, but lies get people killed. Then someone kills you instead, you say flatly. That's how it works. You don't have to be brave or bloodthirsty. You just have to be faster. He looks like he might vomit. You remember that feeling, the awful understanding that you're about to participate in something terrible, and there's no escape, no alternative. You're on this ship. This is your life now. Lysander distributes leather caps that offer minimal protection against blade strikes. You tie yours under your chin, feeling its uncomfortable weight. The crew eats a meal of hard bread and dried fish, battle rations, quick energy. You force down 4 bites before your stomach rebels. The sun begins its descent, painting the water orange and gold. Beautiful, if you had any capacity to appreciate beauty right now. Captain Pleratos orders the galley out of the cove. 30 oars extend from the sides, and the rowers begin their rhythm. You're not rowing today, you're fighting. The distinction seems important, though both activities can kill you. The ship cuts through calm waters, heading northeast toward where the convoy should be. The scout in the crow's nest guides Pleratos's navigation. You grip the rail, watching the coastline slide past. Each stroke brings you closer to violence, to blood, to the possibility of dying at 16 in the Mediterranean Sea, forgotten by everyone except the fish that eat your corpse. The convoy appears as dark shapes against the setting sun, exactly as Pluratos predicted. 3 bulky merchant vessels riding low in the water, heavy with cargo. They're traveling close together for mutual protection, perhaps 100 paces between each ship. You can see guards moving on their decks, but they're relaxed, watching the coastline, not the open sea behind them. Pluratos times the approach perfectly. The galley surges forward, oars driving hard, and the setting sun blinds the merchants to your advance. By the time a guard on the rearmost ship spots you and starts shouting, you're already 30 paces away. Too close to escape, too late to organize a defense. Faster! Pluratos roars, the first time you've heard him shout. The rowers dig deeper, muscles screaming. The galley leaps across the water like a hunting wolf. The impact, when it comes, nearly throws you off your feet. The galley's reinforced prow slams into the merchant ship's side with a grinding crunch of wood. Immediately, crew members throw grappling hooks, lashing the vessels together. The merchant ship rocks violently, and you hear screaming from their deck. Lysander goes over the rail first, boarding hook in one hand, sword in the other. 10 experienced raiders follow him in a flood of violence. You and Bardos scramble after them, your spear clutched in shaking hands. The merchant deck is chaos. Roman guards, maybe 8 of them, are trying to form a defensive line, but they're scattered and surprised. Your crew hits them like an avalanche. Blades flash in the dying light. Someone screams, a wet, gurgling sound that ends abruptly. You stumble over a coil of rope, catch yourself, and freeze. A Roman guard, young like you, stares at you over his shield. Neither of you moves. Time stretches impossibly thin. Then Lysander's sword takes the guard in the side, and time resumes its normal flow. The fighting is over in minutes, though it feels like hours. The Roman guards fought well, but they were outnumbered and surprised. 5 guards lie dead or dying. 3 surrendered and are being tied up by your crewmates. The merchant sailors never even drew weapons. They're huddled by the mast, hands raised, knowing that cooperation means survival. You didn't kill anyone. You held your spear and stayed behind the experienced men, exactly as ordered. But you're covered in other people's blood anyway. It splattered when Lysander cut that guard's throat 3 paces from where you stood. The warm droplets hit your face, your neck. You can taste copper. Bardos is vomiting over the rail. No one mocks him. Several crew members did the same after their first real fight. Your own stomach churns, but you clench your jaw and swallow bile. Captain Pluratos boards the merchant vessel, stepping carefully over bodies. He surveys the scene with the calm of a farmer inspecting crops. Secure the cargo hold, he orders. Throw the dead overboard. Tie the prisoners tighter. I don't trust those knots. You move automatically, following orders, helping drag a corpse to the rail. The dead Roman is heavy, heavier than you expected. Dead weight is different from living weight somehow. His face is frozen in surprise. You try not to look at it as you lift his legs. Another crew member takes the shoulders. On 3, you heave him into the sea. He hits the water with a splash and begins to sink immediately, the leather armor dragging him down. The first body is the hardest. The second is slightly easier. By the 4th, you're almost numb to it. Almost. This is what they meant when older raiders said you get used to it. You don't stop feeling. You just learn to function while feeling. The cargo hold reveals the raid's success. Amphoras of grain, olive oil and wine, bales of Egyptian linen, clay jars of honey, and garum fish sauce. Enough to feed your crew for months and trade for whatever else you need. Captain Pluratus's eyes gleam in the torchlight as he catalogues everything. "Strip the ship," he orders. "Everything valuable comes with us. Wood, rope, sail, everything. Leave them with enough to limp to port, nothing more." The work is exhausting, hauling heavy amphoras from one ship to another, coiling rope, cutting down sails. Your muscles scream, but you don't stop. No one stops. This is the point of everything: the waiting, the fighting, the killing. This cargo represents wealth that poor coastal villagers never see in lifetimes. The captured merchant crew watches silently. They know they're alive only because dead men can't row damaged ships to port and report to Roman authorities with useful details. Pluratus is giving them a story. Pirates attacked at sunset, overwhelming force, nothing anyone could have done. The merchants will tell this story, and it will spread, and more ships will hire more guards, and the cycle continues. One of the tied-up Roman guards, an older one with a greying beard, catches your eye. "How old are you, boy?" he asks in accented Greek. You shouldn't answer. Lysander would tell you to ignore prisoners. But something makes you respond. 16. He laughs bitterly. "My son is 16. He's in Rome, learning to read Greek poetry. You're here, learning to be a murderer. The world is strange, yes?" You have no response to that. You turn away, returning to hauling amphoras. But his words stick in your mind, embedding like splinters. Somewhere, boys your age study philosophy, write poetry, learn trades that don't involve killing. You'll never be one of them. By midnight, the merchant ship is picked clean. Pluratus orders the grappling hooks released and the vessels separate. The damaged merchant wallows in the dark water, its crew unbound now, struggling to patch the hole the galley's ram created. They'll probably make it to the nearest port. Probably. Your galley turns south, oars working in steady rhythm, now heavy with stolen cargo. The other two merchant ships in the convoy are long gone. They fled north when the attack began, probably reaching Lissus by now to report the raid. Roman patrols will be searching these waters within a day. But Pluratus knows a dozen hidden coves between here and Illyrian territory. You'll disappear like smoke. You collapse on the deck, too tired to go below. The night air is cool and welcome after the fighting and labour. Other crew members are scattered around you, equally exhausted. Someone passes a wineskin, stolen wine, sweet and strong. You drink deeply, welcoming the burn in your throat and the fog in your mind. Bardos sits beside you, quiet. His hands are still shaking. "That Roman guard," he finally says. "The one Lysander killed. He looked at me right before, looked right into my eyes." "Don't," you say. "Don't think about it." How do you stop thinking about it? You have no answer, because you can't stop thinking about it either. The faces, the blood, the old guard's words about his son studying poetry in Rome. You take another long drink of wine, hoping eventually you'll drink enough to sleep without dreaming. Lysander passes by, notices you both. "First real fight is always hardest," he says, not unkindly. "Second one is easier. By the 10th, you stop counting." He walks on, leaving you to wonder if that's supposed to be comforting. The galley rows through darkness, carrying stolen wealth and damaged souls. 3 days later, the galley reaches a hidden beach on the Illyrian coast. This isn't a port, no buildings, no people, just a stretch of sand between cliffs where the galley can beach safely. Captain Pluratus has used this spot for years to divide spoils and make repairs away from curious eyes. The crew drags the galley onto shore using log rollers, an exhausting process that takes hours. Then comes the part everyone's been waiting for, dividing the loot. Pleratos does it publicly, following the old pirate customs. He takes 2 shares as captain. Lysander takes 1.5 as first mate. Every other crew member takes 1 share. Even you, even Bardos. Your share, 4 amphoras of wheat, 1 of olive oil, a bolt of linen, and a small leather purse containing 6 silver drachmas. This represents more wealth than your mother earned in 6 months selling vegetables. For 30 minutes of fighting and hours of labor, you've gained what honest work couldn't provide in half a year. You sit on the beach, staring at your amphoras. This is why men become pirates. Not bloodlust, not adventure. Simple mathematics. Risk your life for an hour and eat for 6 months, or break your back farming for a year and still go hungry in winter. The crew celebrates with wine and roasted fish. Someone produces a flute and plays badly. Men dance badly. After 3 days of tension and hard rowing, the release is violent and joyful. Bardos gets drunk for the first time in his life and passes out face down in the sand. You drink just enough to dull the edges without losing control. Captain Pleratos sits apart from the celebration, calculating something in a wax tablet. Always planning the next move, always thinking ahead. You watch him and understand. This is how you survive as a pirate. Never stop planning, never grow comfortable. You wake at dawn with a pounding headache. The wine was stronger than you thought. Around you, crew members groan and curse, equally suffering. The beach looks like a battlefield, bodies sprawled everywhere, empty wineskins scattered, the remains of last night's fire smoking weakly. Captain Pleratos is already up, of course. He walks among the crew, kicking feet and shouting. Up! The galley needs repairs before we move again. Hangover is not an excuse for laziness. The next 2 days are pure labor. The galley's hull took damage during the ramming. Several planks need replacing. You learn to strip pine pitch and apply it as waterproofing. Your hands blister, pop, and blister again. The work is miserable and necessary. A leaking ship is a drowning crew. During a break, you walk into the scrubby forest behind the beach to relieve yourself. The path winds through twisted pines and grey rock. You're maybe 100 paces from the beach when you hear something that freezes your blood. Voices. Speaking Latin. You drop flat behind a boulder, heart hammering. Carefully, you peer around the rock. 20 paces away, 3 Roman soldiers are moving through the forest. Scouts, probably, searching the coastline for pirate hideouts after the raid 3 days ago. They haven't seen you yet. If they reach the beach, they'll spot the galley. They'll return with a full patrol. Your entire crew could be caught, trapped on shore, with no room to maneuver the ship. Everyone hanged or sold as slaves to work Roman mines. You have maybe 60 seconds before they reach a point where the beach becomes visible through the trees. Your small knife is at your belt, the only weapon you're carrying. You're outnumbered 3-1 by trained Roman soldiers. Every choice leads to death. Yours, or theirs, or your entire crew's. Your mind races. If you run back to warn the crew, the Romans will hear you crashing through the brush and follow. If you attack them, you'll die. 3 trained soldiers against a 16-year-old with a knife is suicide. If you do nothing, they'll discover the galley in moments. Then you remember something Lysander once said during a drunken story about his time as a merchant. Romans are creatures of procedure. They file reports. They follow orders. They value their own lives less than their duty. A desperate plan forms. You stand up slowly, hands raised, knife clearly visible but non-threatening. "Don't kill me," you say in broken Latin. The words are clumsy. You've learned only fragments from captured prisoners. Please, Romans, I surrender. The soldiers spin, javelins coming up. The youngest one, barely older than you, looks startled. The leader, a hard-faced man in his 30s, steps forward cautiously. Who are you? What are you doing here? Merchant sailor, you say, making your voice shake with fear that isn't entirely fake. Pirates attacked our ship. I escaped. Hiding in forest 3 days. Please, take me to Roman port. I want to go home. It's a terrible story, full of holes. But you're a terrified teenager covered in pitch and bandages, clearly not a warrior. The leader exchanges glances with his men. They're thinking, this isn't their mission. Their mission is finding pirate hideouts. This is just a lucky survivor. We're searching this area, the leader says. Stay here, don't move. When we're finished, we'll take you to Lissus. They're going to continue to the beach. Your plan bought you 30 seconds, nothing more. As they turn to move on, you make the hardest decision of your life. Your knife leaves your hand in a throw Lysander taught you during long, boring watches. The knife takes the leader in the throat. Not a killing blow, your throw was desperate, not perfect. But he drops his javelin and clutches at his neck, blood pouring between his fingers. The shock buys you 2 seconds. You're already running at the nearest young soldier. He's raising his javelin, but you're inside his guard before he can thrust. You grab his sword arm, using your body weight to pull him off balance. You're lighter, but desperation makes you strong. You drive your head into his face. You feel his nose break, see blood spray. His grip loosens, and you wrench the gladius from his hand. The third soldier's javelin catches you in the left shoulder. The pain is white-hot and incredible, but adrenaline keeps you moving. The gladius is heavy in your hand. You've never wielded a real sword before, only practiced with weighted sticks. But the soldier with the broken nose is on his knees, and you bring the blade down on the back of his neck, the way you've seen Lysander do. It takes 2 strikes. Swords are harder to use than stories suggest. The third soldier is drawing his sword now. The leader is still alive but gurgling, drowning in his own blood. This is it, one-on-one. You can barely lift your left arm. The javelin is still stuck in your shoulder, its weight pulling at the wound. Blood runs down your side, soaking your tunic. The soldier advances carefully. He's been trained for this. You haven't. But you've watched Lysander fight, and you remember, pirates don't fight fair. As he steps forward, you grab a handful of dirt and pine needles with your good hand and throw it in his face. When he flinches, you lunge forward and drive the gladius into his belly. Not elegant, not clean, but effective. Silence. Just your ragged breathing and the wet sounds of dying men. The third soldier slumps to the ground, hands trying uselessly to hold his intestines in. The leader has stopped moving. The one with the broken nose is definitely dead. You made sure of that. You stand in a small clearing surrounded by 3 corpses and your own blood. The javelin in your shoulder throbs with each heartbeat. You know you need to remove it, but you're terrified of the pain. You're terrified of everything right now. You just killed 3 Roman soldiers. You, 16 years old, in hand-to-hand combat. Your hands are shaking so badly you can barely grip the javelin shaft. You count to 3, then pull. The scream that tears from your throat is animal, mindless. The iron point comes free, and blood flows faster from the wound. You press your hand against it, but blood seeps between your fingers. You need to get back to the beach, need to warn the crew, need help before you bleed out. But first, you need to hide the bodies. If another Roman patrol comes through and finds 3 dead scouts, they'll scour every inch of this coastline. With your one good arm, you drag the bodies deeper into the forest, piling rocks and brush over them. It's exhausting work. You're leaving a blood trail, but you're beyond caring. Your vision is starting to blur at the edges. Shock, maybe. Blood loss, definitely. Finally, you stumble back toward the beach. Crew members see you emerge from the tree line and shout in alarm. Lysander reaches you first, catching you as your legs give out. Romans, you gasp. Scouts, 3, in the forest, dead now, but more might come. Lysander's eyes widen. You killed 3 Roman soldiers? Alone? You nod, then everything goes black. You wake to burning pain. Someone is pouring wine directly into your shoulder wound. Primitive disinfection that feels like liquid fire. You try to scream, but a leather strap is jammed between your teeth. Strong hands hold you down. Through tears, you see Captain Pleuratos' face above you. Stay still, he says. Lysander's stitching you up. Scream if you need to, but don't move. The needle pierces your flesh, and you do scream, muffled by the lever. Lysander works with surprising gentleness, pulling thread through skin and muscle, closing the ragged hole the javelin left. Each stitch is agony. You count them to stay conscious. 1, 2, 3, 10, 15. Finally, Lysander ties off the thread and wraps your shoulder in clean linen. You'll live, he says, assuming infection doesn't set in. The next 3 days will tell. Captain Pleuratos removes the leather strap. Tell me everything, slowly. You recount the encounter, the Roman scouts, your desperate plan, the fighting. The captain listens without interrupting, his face unreadable. When you finish, silence stretches. You killed 3 legionaries in close combat, Pleuratos finally says. That's unusual. Most boys your age would have run or died trying. You chose a third option, make them die instead. It doesn't sound like praise, more like he's making a clinical observation. We leave tonight, the captain announces to the crew. Pack everything. Romans might send more scouts when these 3 don't report back. We can't be here when they arrive. The crew scrambles into action, despite exhaustion and hangovers. Your successful raid is now a liability. The Romans will want revenge for their dead soldiers. You lie on the beach, shoulder throbbing, watching men pack your share of loot along with their own. Bardos brings you water. You're insane, he says, but there's awe in his voice. Completely insane. By dusk, the galley is back in the water. Your shoulder screams with every movement, but you force yourself to help. Lying useless while your crewmates work feels worse than the pain. Bardos stays close, helping you lift things with your good arm, not saying much. The galley rows north under cover of darkness, hugging the coastline. Captain Pleuratos is taking no chances. The plan is to reach friendly Illyrian territory by dawn. Friendly is relative. Friendly means local chieftains who take a cut of pirate profits in exchange for not betraying you to Rome. You sit in your usual spot on deck, cradling your injured arm. The stitches pull when the ship rocks. Lysander said infection is the real danger now. You've seen men die from infected wounds, fever, delirium, death. It takes days and involves a lot of screaming. The thought terrifies you more than the fighting did. The crew is quiet tonight. News of the Roman scouts has everyone on edge. Killing guards during a raid is one thing, expected, even encouraged by Roman merchants who insure their cargo against piracy. But killing Roman soldiers on Roman-patrolled coastline is different. That's attacking the empire itself. Rome doesn't forgive that. They'll hunt us now, you overhear one older raider telling another. 3 dead legionaries. Rome will send warships. Real warships, not merchant guards. We've poked the wolf. You wonder if that's true. 3 scouts out of thousands. Does Rome care about 3 men? Then you remember what the captured guard said, his son studying poetry in Rome. Someone will miss these soldiers. Someone will demand investigation. Rome always investigates. It's what makes Rome terrifying. The galley cuts through dark water, putting distance between you and the corpses you hid under rocks and pine branches. But distance doesn't erase what you did. You killed 3 men today. Yesterday, you'd never killed anyone. 3 days later, fever hits you like a hammer. You wake shivering despite the Mediterranean heat, skin burning, shoulder throbbing with infected heat. The world tilts sideways. Lysander's face appears above you. He removes your bandage, and you smell the wrongness before you see it. The wound is angry red, leaking yellow pus. Infected, just as he feared. "Hold him," Lysander orders, and several crew members pin your arms and legs. You're too weak to fight much. Lysander heats a knife blade over a brazier until it glows red. You understand what's coming. Cauterization. Burning out the infection before it kills you. You've watched this done to wounded men before. Sometimes they survive. The hot blade presses into your infected wound, and the world becomes nothing but white-hot agony and the smell of your own flesh burning. Ah! You hear screaming and dimly realize it's yours. The crew members hold you down as you thrash, keeping you from hurting yourself or Lysander. It lasts forever and ends suddenly. You lie gasping, tears running down your face, shoulder a landscape of pure pain. Lysander pours more wine into the wound, adding insult to injury, though the pain barely registers compared to the burning. "The infection is out," Lysander says. "Now we wait. Either you live or you don't. Your body decides." The next 2 days are a blur of fever dreams. You see the Roman scouts again, but in dreams they're still alive, chasing you through endless forests. You see your mother's face, disappointed. You see the captured guard who asked your age, his son studying poetry, both looking at you with sad understanding. Bardos sits with you through the worst of it, dripping water into your mouth when you can swallow. "Don't die," he keeps saying. "Please don't die. You're the only one here who talks to me like I'm human." You wake on the 5th day with a clear head. The fever has broken. You're weak as a newborn, but your mind is yours again. Lysander checks your wound, still angry looking, but the red inflammation is receding. No spreading infection. You'll live. "You're lucky," Lysander says. "I've seen men stronger than you die from smaller wounds. The gods favor you, or you're too stubborn to die. Maybe both." The galley has reached Illyrian waters. You're anchored in a large bay surrounded by a small fishing village. Wooden huts cluster around the shore. These are Pleuratus's people. Not his blood family, but his tribe, who've supported his piracy for years. This is as close to home as pirates get. Captain Pleuratus has been negotiating with the village headman. Part of your raid's profit goes to the village. Protection money in reverse. The villagers get grain and trade goods. Pleuratus gets a safe harbour and fresh water. Everyone profits except the original Roman merchants. You're allowed to go ashore, though Lysander forbids you from doing any heavy work. Your arm is in a sling, the burned and stitched shoulder still fragile. You walk through the village, feeling solid ground beneath your feet for the first time in weeks. Children stare at you. Old women weaving outside their huts watch with knowing eyes. They've seen pirates before. Seen boys like you, too young, too scarred, too damaged by a life that should have killed them. One old woman spits when you pass, either warding off evil or expressing contempt. Maybe both. You find a quiet spot on a rocky outcrop overlooking the bay. The galley bobs at anchor. Your crewmates move about the deck, small as toys from this distance. You sit and simply breathe clean air that doesn't reek of sweat and blood. For the first time since the raid, you let yourself feel the fear, the guilt, the strange pride, the knowledge that you're a killer now. You spend 3 days in the village recovering. Bardos stays close, appointed by Lysander as your keeper. Make sure he doesn't do anything stupid, were Lysander's exact words. Bardos takes the job seriously, following you everywhere like a nervous shadow. On the second day, a Roman merchant ship limps into the bay. Your hand goes to your knife automatically. Then you see it's flying a white flag. Truce. The ship is damaged, listing badly. Not from combat, from storms. Captain Pleratos meets with the Roman captain on the beach, neutral ground. You watch from a distance. It's surreal. Pirates and Romans negotiating like merchants at market. Money changes hands. Grain and supplies transfer from village stores to the Roman ship. Pleratos charges 3 times the normal rate, and the Romans pay without argument. They need repairs to reach the next port, and Pleratos controls this bay. How can you do business with Romans? Bardos asks. We just raided a Roman convoy. Business is business, an older raider named Phrotes explains. He's sitting nearby, whittling a piece of wood into a crude figure. We raid Roman ships. We also trade with Roman ships. We kill Roman soldiers. We also sell Roman soldiers grain when they're desperate. The Romans understand. It's nothing personal, just economics. This casual amorality disturbs you more than the violence did. At least violence has clarity. Kill or be killed. But this grey area, where yesterday's enemies become today's customers, where 3 dead scouts become just another transaction, you don't understand how men live like this without going mad. You'll understand eventually, Phrotes says, reading your expression. Or you won't, and you'll die. Most pirates who can't accept the contradictions end up dead young. The ones who survive learn to stop asking why. The Roman ship departs after 2 days of repairs. You watch it sail away, carrying grain your crew stole from other Romans last week, sold back to Romans by pirates who killed Roman soldiers. The circular insanity makes your head hurt. Captain Pleratos calls a crew meeting that evening. Everyone gathers around a driftwood fire on the beach. The captain has that calculating look again. He's about to announce something important. We've had a good season, Pleratos begins. 3 successful raids, minimal losses. But the Roman scout situation changes things. They'll be hunting us specifically now. Increase patrols. Better intelligence. We need to disappear for a while. Murmurs of disappointment. Disappearing means no raids. No raids means no profit. I'm splitting the crew, Pleratos continues. Half stays with the galley, lying low in protected coves. The other half disperses, return to villages, take normal work, stop being pirates until the Romans lose interest. In 3 months, maybe 4, we reassemble and start fresh. This is smart strategy. Romans can't hunt what they can't find, but it also means uncertainty. 3 months is a long time. Men might find other crews. The galley might be discovered. Nothing is guaranteed. Dardos, the captain says, and your stomach drops. Your shoulder needs proper healing time. You're grounded. Return to your home village. Resume your old life. When I send word, you rejoin the crew. If I don't send word, that means the crew is finished. Find another ship or find another life. You nod, too shocked to speak. Return home? You haven't seen your mother or stepfather in over a year. You don't even know if they're alive. The thought of going back to that village, pretending to be a normal boy after everything you've done, seems impossible. But Pleratos has spoken, and on this crew, the captain's word is law. 2 days later, you stand on a dusty road leading to your home village. Bardos left with the galley. He's staying with the ship crew. Lysander gave you half your share from the last raid. The rest stays with Pleratos. If you rejoin, you get it back. If not, it helps fund the next season. Your shoulder is healing slowly. The sling is gone, replaced by careful movements that don't stress the scar tissue. You can lift your arm now, though it aches constantly. The burn scar will be permanent, shiny, twisted skin that will mark you forever. The village looks smaller than you remember. Sad, even. 15 huts, a common well, fields of scraggly wheat. This is where you grew up, where your father drowned, where your stepfather made it clear you were unwelcome. People stare as you walk through. You've changed. Taller, leaner, harder. The scar on your shoulder visible when your tunic shifts. You move differently, alert, watching corners, hand near your knife. Everyone can see you're not the scared 12-year-old who left. Your mother's hut is at the village edge. You stand outside, suddenly terrified. What do you say? Hello, Mother. I'm a pirate now. I've killed 7 men. How have you been? Before you can decide, the door opens. Your mother stands there, older than you remember, more grey in her hair, thinner. She stares at you for a long moment, then bursts into tears. Dardos, she whispers. You're alive. I prayed, but I thought you were dead. She pulls you into a hug, and you stand there awkwardly, unsure how to respond. You've forgotten how to be someone's son. You know how to be a pirate, a killer, a survivor. But a son? That person died somewhere on the Mediterranean. Your stepfather, Marcus, a Greek immigrant who married your mother for her small plot of land, tolerates your presence with cold silence. He doesn't ask where you've been or what you've done. He sees the scar, the way you move, and understands enough, your trouble. But your mother insisted you could stay, and Marcus values peace in his home more than he hates you. You try to resume normal life, wake at dawn, work the fields, haul water. The physical labor aggravates your shoulder, but you push through pain. You need to rebuild strength. The village boys you knew before have grown. Mikos is betrothed now, preparing to take over his father's fishing boat. Talos works the olive press. They try to include you in their conversations, village gossip, who's courting whom, complaints about weather and taxes. You have nothing to contribute. How do you explain that your normal is watching horizons for sails? That you instinctively calculate the trade value of their fishing boat? That their biggest worry, a bad olive harvest, seems laughably trivial compared to dodging Roman patrols and surviving knife fights? You're a stranger in your own home. Your mother tries. She asks about your year away, and you lie. Merchant work. Travelled up and down the coast. Paid well. She doesn't believe you. Mothers never do. But she doesn't push. The scar tells her enough. At night, you lie on the same sleeping mat you used as a child. The ceiling is the same. The walls are the same. But you're not the same. You dream of the sea, of decks rolling beneath your feet, of Bardos asking nervous questions, of Lysander's calm voice giving orders, of blood on wooden planks. 3 weeks into this pretend life, a man arrives at the village asking for you. He's an Illyrian messenger wearing Pleratos' bronze armband. Your heart leaps. You're being called back. The messenger's words are simple. Pleratos sails in 3 days from the hidden cove near Epidamnos. Bring weapons and travel light. The hunting season begins again. 3 months passed faster than expected. The Romans must have shifted their patrols elsewhere, or Pleratos has new intelligence about vulnerable targets. Either way, Your exile is over. Your mother weeps when you tell her you're leaving. I knew, she says. I knew you wouldn't stay. You have the sea in your blood, like your father. Your father drowned fishing. You're leaving to become a pirate again. These are not the same thing, but you don't correct her. Let her believe what she needs to believe. Marcus gives you supplies without comment. Dried fish, hard bread, a leather waterskin. It's more generous than you expected. Your mother loves you, he says quietly. That's the only reason you're welcome here. Don't make her wait years wondering if you're alive. Send word occasionally. You nod. It's the closest thing to understanding you'll get from him. The journey to Epidamnos takes 2 days on foot. You're stronger now. The farm work rebuilt muscle the injury had wasted. Your shoulder still aches in cold weather, but it functions. You can fight again. That's all that matters. The hidden cove hasn't changed. The galley sits at anchor, freshly repaired. You see familiar faces and new ones. Pleratos recruited during the break. The crew is now 32 strong, larger than before. Bardos spots you from the deck and waves frantically. Lysander nods in greeting, his way of welcoming you back. Captain Pleratos merely glances at you and returns to whatever he's doing. But you're here, your crew again. It feels more like coming home than your actual home did. The ship rocks gently beneath your feet. Salt spray stings your face. This is where you belong. For better or worse, you're a pirate. Captain Pleratos briefs the crew that evening. The target is ambitious, a Rhodian merchant convoy carrying luxury goods from Egypt to Greece. Rhodes is wealthy, neutral, and well protected. Their ships travel with professional marines, not just guards. This raid will be the most dangerous yet. Why Rhodes? Someone asks. We've always avoided the big maritime powers. Pleratos, a rare expression that makes him look almost young. Because Rhodes pays the highest ransoms. We're not sinking their ships. We're taking crew and cargo, then sending ransom demands. Rhodes always pays. It's cheaper than losing trade relationships. This is new strategy. Instead of quick hit and run, you're entering the hostage business. More complex, more risk, much higher reward. Your role has changed. You're no longer the greenest crew member. Those are the new recruits. You're experienced now, scarred, proven. Lysander assigns you to lead a 4-man boarding team. The responsibility sits heavy on your shoulders. Training begins immediately. Pleratos drills the crew on coordinated boarding tactics. Multiple teams hitting different points simultaneously. Overwhelming force applied with precision. You practice with your team until movements become instinctual. Your team consists of Bardos, now 15 and taller, finally growing into his limbs. Phraotes, the cynical veteran, and a new recruit named Callias, a deserter from a Macedonian garrison who knows military tactics. Different ages, different skills, but you're responsible for keeping them alive and effective. Remember, Lysander tells you during a break, leadership in combat means making decisions faster than anyone else. Right or wrong doesn't matter as much as decisive. Hesitation kills crews. You feeling the weight of those words. 4 men will follow your orders in chaos. Their survival depends on your judgment. You're 17 years old enough to lead men in battle, young enough to terrify yourself with that responsibility. The Rhodian convoy appears exactly where Pleratos' intelligence said it would be. 3 large merchant vessels sailing in tight formation, escorted by a smaller warship. The warship is the problem. Fast, maneuverable, packed with trained marines. Your galley can't outfight a warship in direct confrontation. Pleratos' plan is clever and insane. You'll attack at night during a storm. The warship can't maneuver well in rough seas, and darkness negates their numerical advantage. But storms make everything harder. Fighting, boarding, even keeping your own ship afloat. The weather doesn't care whose side it's on. The storm arrives right on schedule, as if the gods approve of piracy. Thunder rolls across black waters. Waves crash over the galley's deck. Rain falls in blinding sheets. Every man is soaked and miserable within minutes. Now! Pleratos roars over the storm. The galley surges forward, oars fighting mountainous waves. Through the rain, you see the merchant convoys scattered by the storm, each ship struggling to maintain course. The warship is focused on staying near its charges, not watching for threats. Your target is the middle merchant vessel, separated from its protector by maybe 200 paces. In calm seas, the warship could close that distance quickly. In this chaos, it might as well be miles away. The galley slams into the merchant's side. You're over the rail instantly, your team behind you. The deck is chaos. Wind howling, rain pounding, ship rolling violently. The Rhodian crew is struggling just to stay upright. You spot the captain near the stern, trying to direct his men. "Take him alive," you shout to your team. "He's worth more breathing." Pherotes nods and moves toward the captain. Callias engages 2 sailors trying to form a defense. Bardos stays at your side, guarding your flank like you taught him. The fight is brutal but brief. Storm-addled sailors can't mount effective resistance against pirates who trained for exactly these conditions. Within minutes, you've secured the deck. 8 Rhodian sailors are tied up, including the captain, a portly Greek who keeps demanding to know who you work for, as if organizational structure matters when you're being ransomed. But the storm isn't finished with you. A massive wave hits the locked-together ships, and you hear wood crack ominously. The merchant vessel is taking on water, damage from the galley's ram worsened by the pounding seas. "Ship's going down!" Lysander shouts from the galley. "Take what you can carry and get back!" You make a split-second decision. "Pherotes, Callias, grab the captain and 2 merchants. Bardos, help me with these cargo crates." Your team moves. Pherotes drags the protesting captain toward the galley. Callias shoves 2 wealthy-looking merchants ahead of him. You and Bardos wrestle with a wooden crate that's surprisingly heavy. You can hear glass clinking inside. Expensive glassware, maybe. Worth the effort. Another wave crashes over the deck. The merchant vessel lurches sickeningly. You're running out of time. "Move!" you roar at Bardos, and together you haul the crate over the rail, passing it to crew members on the galley. You follow, pulling Bardos after you. The grappling hooks release just as the merchant vessel's mainmast cracks and topples. You watch from the galley as the Rhodian ship rolls, capsizes, and begins to sink. Men are in the water, screaming, drowning. Some of your crew want to go back for survivors. Bodies can be ransomed too. "No," Pleratos orders. "The warship is turning toward us. We leave, now." The galley rows hard into the storm, leaving the sinking ship and drowning men behind. You saved 3 hostages, enough for ransom. The rest are the storm's problem now. The storm finally breaks at dawn. The galley is battered but intact. 3 hostages sit bound amidships. The Rhodian captain, a wealthy textile merchant, and a banker travelling with his profits. Pleratos interrogates each one, determining their ransom value with merchant's precision. The captain is worth 30 talents of silver, a fortune. The merchant, maybe 15. The banker, 25. Total ransom value, enough to keep your crew wealthy for 2 years if Rhodes pays. And Rhodes will pay. They always do. You're exhausted, but Pleratos assigns you to guard duty over the hostages. You sit with your sword across your knees, watching three miserable men who last night were wealthy and comfortable. Now they're prisoners on a pirate galley, facing uncertain futures. The banker, a sharp-faced Rhodian named Nicias, studies you. "How old are you, boy?" 17, you say. "I have a son your age," Nicias says. He's home in Rhodes, studying rhetoric. Wants to be an orator in the assembly. You know what that means? Using words to settle disputes instead of swords. You don't respond. What is there to say? You've heard variations of this speech before. The Roman guard's son studying poetry. Now this banker's son studying rhetoric. Everyone wants you to feel guilty for choosing violence over civilization. "I don't feel bad about this," you finally say. You don't feel bad about getting rich while others starve. Your son gets to study because you have money. I have money because I take it from people like you. It's just business, economics. Isn't that what you teach your son? Nicias falls silent. What answer can he give? You've taken his own philosophy and used it as a weapon. The galley rows toward Illyrian waters, carrying stolen wealth and philosophical awkwardness in equal measure. The ransom negotiations take 3 weeks. Pleratos sends a trusted intermediary to Rhodes with his demands and proof the hostages live, a letter written by the captain in his own hand. Rhodes's response is predictable: outrage, threats of retaliation, then gradual acceptance of reality. They'll pay, but they negotiate the price first. Always negotiate. It's the Rhodian way. During the waiting, you're anchored in a protected cove. The hostages are treated well, fed properly, given shelter, even allowed to bathe. Damaged merchandise loses value. Pleratos needs them healthy for the exchange. You spend time with Bardos, who's fascinated by the hostages. "How can you talk to them like they're normal people?" he asks. "They're prisoners." "They are normal people," you say. "That's the point. We're not monsters. We're businessmen conducting business with temporary leverage. If we treated them like animals, Rhodes would send warships instead of silver. Professional courtesy matters in piracy. You've learned this from watching Pleratos. The captain never tortures hostages, never allows rape, never permits unnecessary cruelty. Not from mercy, from pragmatism. Reputation affects future negotiations. Pirates who are merely ruthless get better deals than pirates who are sadistic. Lysander teaches you the arithmetic of ransom, how much to demand based on the hostage's wealth, social position, and number of dependents. How to structure payments so you get something even if negotiations fail. How to identify which hostages have the political influence to ensure agreements are honored. Piracy is 10% violence and 90% business, Lysander explains. Any fool can swing a sword. Smart pirates understand economics, negotiation, and risk management. That's why we're rich, and most pirates die poor. You absorb these lessons like a student at an academy, except your academy is a ship, and your subject is organized crime. The Rhodian representative arrives with payment. 32 talents of silver in sealed amphorae, transported on a neutral ship flying diplomatic flags. The exchange happens on neutral beach, hostages for silver, witnessed by a neutral arbiter from a local Greek temple to ensure neither side betrays the other. You stand guard during the exchange, part of Pleratos' security detail. The Rhodian representative is a cold-eyed merchant named Straton, who clearly hates this entire process. He inspects the hostages to confirm their health, then nods curtly. "Your ransom is paid," Straton says to Pleratos. "Rhodes requests you avoid our ships for the next year." "Rhodes requests?" Pleratos smiles. "That's not how this works, but I'll consider it, for additional compensation." Straton's jaw tightens. "How much?" 5 talents, annual fee for selective targeting. It's protection money in reverse. Rhodes pays pirates to raid other powers' ships instead of theirs. Stratton knows this. Everyone knows this. But acknowledging it officially would be scandalous. 3 talents, Stratton counters. And you avoid Rhodian vessels actively, not just consider it. Done, Pleratos agrees. You watch this exchange with growing understanding. The Mediterranean is a giant criminal ecosystem where everyone, merchants, city-states, pirates, plays their role. Rhodes pays pirates to exist because Rhodian pirates attack other city-states, weakening trade competitors. Rome fights pirates because piracy disrupts grain supplies. City-states protect pirates because pirates weaken Rome. It's all circular, all economics, all utterly amoral. The hostages are released. They don't look back as they walk toward the Rhodian ship. You don't blame them. You wouldn't look back either. The silver amphorae are loaded onto the galley. 35 talents total. 32 ransom plus 3 protection payment. Each crew member's share is substantial. You're wealthy now by village standards, still poor by merchant standards, but significantly wealthier than 3 months ago. With wealth comes celebration. The crew returns to the Illyrian village for division of profits. This time, your share is 12 talents of silver, more money than your mother would see in her entire life. You could buy a small farm, open a shop, live comfortably without ever raiding again. But you don't. The thought doesn't even seriously occur to you. This is your life now. The sea, the crew, the constant dance between violence and economics. You found your place in the world, even if that place is technically criminal. You send 5 talents to your mother through a trusted messenger, along with a brief letter. I'm alive and well. This should last you years. Don't ask how I earned it. The messenger returns with her response. Tears, prayers, and acceptance. She knows what you've become. She's grateful anyway. Captain Pleratos announces his retirement. The news shocks everyone. He's made enough money to buy a villa, land, and political influence in a small coastal town. He's going legitimate. The dream of every successful pirate. Retire wealthy before you're killed or captured. Who takes command? Phraortes asks the obvious question. Lysander, Pleratos announces. He has the experience, the crew's respect, and the necessary ruthlessness. Under Lysander, this crew continues. Lysander accepts with characteristic calm, but then he surprises everyone. Dardos is my first mate. You freeze. You're 17. There are men with decades more experience. But Lysander's logic is sound. He's intelligent, learns fast, and the crew follows him. The young ones respect him because he survived what killed their peers. The old ones respect him because he doesn't pretend to know more than he does. He'll make a good first mate, or die trying. Either way, we'll know within a year. It's the most terrifying promotion of your life. 6 months pass. You're 18 now, scarred by multiple raids, wealthy beyond your childhood imagination, and carrying the weight of command. As first mate, you're responsible for crew discipline, raid planning, and the 1,000 small decisions that keep a pirate galley functioning. Lysander is a different captain than Pleratos, more aggressive, less patient. He targets bigger prizes and takes bigger risks. The crew prospers, but casualties increase. You lose 3 men in a badly planned raid on a Carthaginian convoy. Another dies from fever. Bardos takes a sword thrust to the gut, but survives, barely. The ship's physician saves him with hot iron and prayers. You visit Bardos during his recovery. He's 16 now, hardened by years of violence, but the gut wound terrifies him. I thought I was dead, he whispers. Felt the blade go in. Knew it was over. But it wasn't, you say. You survived. That's what matters. For what? He asks. So I can get stabbed again next month. Die at 20 from infected wounds. Drown when the galley sinks. What's the point, Dardos? What are we even doing? You have no good answer. You've asked yourself the same questions late at night, watching stars from the deck. You've accumulated wealth you'll probably never spend. Killed men whose names you don't know. Damaged people for profit. For what? Adventure? Survival? Because you don't know how to be anything else. We're living, you finally say. Not well, not safely, but we're alive and free. That's more than most people get. It's a weak answer. Bardos knows it. You know it. But it's all you have. The galley rows on through endless blue waters, carrying damaged souls toward uncertain futures, one raid at a time. You're 19 when you finally understand. The galley is anchored in a familiar cove, the same one where you first joined Pluratus's crew 3 years ago. The cliffs haven't changed, the water is the same blue, but you've changed completely. You sit on the same rocky outcrop where you once sat as a 16-year-old boy, contemplating your first raid. Now you're first mate of the most successful pirate crew in Illyrian waters. You've led dozens of raids, killed more men than you can remember, accumulated wealth that would make merchants jealous. You're scarred, experienced, and utterly transformed. And you're tired. Not physically, you're in your prime, but soul-tired. The kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. Bardos finds you there. He's 17 now, fully recovered from his gut wound, one of the crew's best fighters. Captain wants you, he says. Planning the next raid. Tell him I'll be there soon. Bardos sits beside you instead. You've been through everything together. Raids, wounds, death, wealth, philosophical crisis. He's become the brother you never had. You think we'll ever stop? Bardos asks quietly. Just stop raiding and live normal lives. You consider the question honestly. No, you finally say. This is what we are now. We can pretend to be normal, visit villages, send money home, but we'll always return to the ship. It's the only place we truly fit. Bardos nods slowly. He already knew the answer. Then we keep going. We keep going, you agree. You stand, dust off your clothes, and walk back toward the galley. The sun is setting, painting the water gold and crimson. Beautiful, if you had the capacity to appreciate beauty anymore. Another raid awaits, another target, another dance with death and profit. This is your life. This is who you are. An Illyrian pirate, forever.